Duran Premium Cigars, one of the fastest-growing boutique cigar companies, provides smokers a portal into the old Cuban tradition of the perfect balance and the lost art of progressive flavor construction. Roberto Pelayo Duran began his career in tobacco over 2 decades ago in Havana, where his reputation grew within Cuban circles. The creation of Duran Premium Cigars has given Roberto the platform to introduce a series of cigars that offer the quality and construction that he perfected while in Cuba. Brands include the ultra-premium Roberto P. Duran signature line, Azan, Nea, and Baracoa. Duran uses a seed to humidor approach, as all of their tobacco is grown in their farms and rolled in their factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. Rollers have been carefully chosen to carry out Roberto's precise method to ensure progressive flavor in each cigar. Duran Premium Cigars invites you to make their premium your standard.
Hey, Paul, what's up?
What's up, Mark?
Did you hear about the new cigar that's coming out?
Which one is that? There's like 800 new ones every week.
The one with the Connecticut broadleaf wrapper.
Oh, really? I love Connecticut broadleaf. Who makes it?
I think it's Nicaraguan.
So Nicaraguan binder and filler, or it's made in a factory in Nicaragua?
I always have to Google these, and it's taking me like an hour to find out what it is.
If this is a frequent conversation with your cigar buddies, look no further than Stogie Geeks News, the only cigar news podcast on the internet. Will Cooper, the man behind cigar-coop.com, and Paul Asadorian from the Stogie Geeks produce a weekly show covering the latest cigar news, new blends, cigar manufacturer announcements, and more. Subscribe to the video version on YouTube, or get the audio version in your favorite podcast catcher. Head on over to stogienews.tv to subscribe today.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Paul Asadorian from the Stogie Geeks. On the lines via Skype, Will Cooper and Ben Lee. We're going to do my top 10 cigars of 2016. I thought it was important to get this content out there. Couple of quick things about my list. One, I did not smoke every new cigar released this year. Number two, some of my favorite cigars of the year weren't necessarily released in 2016. And we've talked about this in the past, Will, where, a cigar is released in, late 2015 or even early 2015, and it ages to the point where it's in my regular smoking rotation, but it doesn't qualify to be in the list because it wasn't released in 2016. That's just kind of how we do it now. Maybe in the future we'll work to change that. We've got a lot of fun things planned for 2017. That being said, a couple more things about my list. I would say number 5 through number 10, I've got probably like an equal amount of ranking in terms of, like, I would just smoke those, right? It's really number 1 through 4 that are really kind of ranked in order. So if you want to look at my list in order, really just pay attention 1 through 4. Number 1 and number 2, a big kind of caveat, like one of them is regular production and one of them is super, super limited. And I gave the edge to the one that was regularly available for my number 1 slot, and that's really because, well, I'll talk about it. Like, the one that's really super limited was, like, off the charts good, but, like, finding it is, like, next to impossible, right? So I went with, for my number 1 choice, something that most people can find in smoke. So that was kind of how I organized my list, Will. I don't know if you have comments or thoughts on that.
Yeah, so a couple of things that I kind of, all the thoughts I'm echoing it as well about some of the changes we're looking at doing with Cigar of the Year. But Paul and I do not reveal our lists to each other at all. I mean, so these are we don't. They're under lock and key, and as we roll them out, it's kind of, I think there's an element of surprise. So I'll be honest, I tried to guess yours this year. And I think I had more difficulty this year than any. I remember, we had, Tattoo White Black Label, was one. I remember that was a pretty easy one to bet. I remember Davidoff Royal Salomonis was another. This year, I don't know. I don't have a feel for where you're going with this, to be honest with you.
I love it. I think it's awesome. I'm going to start with number 10 and work my way back. The El Huehuense Lancero. Now, I could probably interchange this with some of the other sizes. I'll be honest with you. I love this line from Nick Melillo. The Lancero, for me, smoked probably the best out of the line. However, the short Corona, or the Corona Gorda size that he has, which was on the Cigar Aficionado list, would earn the number 10 slot, or earn a slot on my list. I think the regular Churchill in this blend would earn a spot on my list. I think Nick did a fantastic job with this blend. It's been one of my more favorite cigars to smoke this year. The Lancero, I mean, I smoked multiple Lanceros and multiple of all the different sizes in the line, which shows you how strong this blend is. But the El Huehuense Lancero I thought was just fantastic.
Love the Lancero. I thought right up there with the Churchill is my two favorites.
Yep. Yeah, and like I said, you can interchange those two for sure. Not a whole lot of, I mean, Tatuaje released a lot with the Skinny Monsters and a lot of the Monster series this year, and I did smoke probably all of them this year. The one that really, surprised me in how good it was and kind of reinvented my faith in Tatuaje to produce just fantastic blends was that Tatuaje K222. There was just something and this blend is not new, right? I mean, it's in their regular Reserva line and or their regular, what is it, the Miami line they call it, brown label.
It's a brown label Reserva line.
Yeah, out
of Miami. They make those out of Miami.
I tell you what, the K22 for me was just so smokable, so much flavor. It had to be on my list when I was going through, and obviously our method for choosing these, right, is we review a lot of the, all the cigars that we smoke on the show. We rank them. I go through other people's lists that document, what cigars have been released in 2016, make sure I didn't miss anything. And this one just stuck out for me. I'm like, this is a clear winner, in my opinion. I would smoke so many more of these cigars. Just an awesome, awesome smoking cigar.
One I did not smoke, but have. So it didn't make my list. It's something for next year. Will be eligible, though, since it came out.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to do a 2-year next year. So that's, I have it, but I haven't smoked it.
Now, in recent smoking, and this one's kind of somewhat controversial, is the initial size that came out was a somewhat store limited release and then a regular production release. It is one of 2 from Padron that are on my list. This is the 1964 anniversary series Hermoso Maduro. For me, was just awesome. It earned a spot on my list. We talked about that dark fruit sweetness with Miguel, and this one just has it, right? And I smoked the Bellicoso, and I smoked tons of Padron Maduros, and I love the short Robusto size, and this one just won my heart. It really did. I would smoke a ton more of these 1964 anniversary series Hermoso Robusto, short Robusto from Padron.
I like the Maduro better in that one.
Yeah, Maduro in this size was better than the natural, rather. I said Connecticut because the next one on my list is the new Illusione Connecticut. I've been smoking the snot out of these, Will.
The Rothschild.
The Rothschild. And the Rothschild is a great regular production release from Illusione. And he did this in the Connecticut wrapper, and it just popped for me as something different that I can smoke in a Connecticut. I can smoke this before breakfast, after breakfast. It has that kind of versatility. I prefer to smoke it kind of after breakfast as it has a little bit of a punch to it. But I love this Illusione Rothschild's Connecticut.
Oh,
Ben,
yeah,
have you smoked that?
Oh, yeah. We got some in the smoke ring in Houston, and I fell in love with that. I mean, the Rothschild, to me, the original one, I thought it was okay, but the Connecticut just blew me out of the water. It's such great flavor, and for the price, oh my God, it's an amazing little smoke. This
is one that's accessible to everyone. It's a great Connecticut. We talked about Connecticut's in the interview segment with Miguel. I just think there's no reason why I bought like 5 of these and they went like instantly, and that's some of what kind of fuels my list. Right? Is Will and I and Ben, right? We reviewed tons of cigars across the year, but how many of do you buy 5 or more of that you're consistently smoking? Like those are the ones to me that we should be recommending to people and putting on a list. And this one certainly earned its spot in my list.
Yeah, I remember. I think I threw you one of those when you were down in Charlotte. I had just smoked it, and I had picked up some more when we were in J&R. And I said, Paul, you need to smoke this. And because I was really impressed with that cigar.
Yeah, and then they got them next door, and I bought a bunch more, and I've just been keeping smoking them. So,
and they're in the 50-count boxes, right?
They are 50-count boxes, reasonably priced. Probably here in Rhode Island, around $6 for a Robusto.
I wouldn't hesitate for a 50-count box of those.
No, I wouldn't either. Yeah, because I don't think it's a Connecticut that's going to lose a ton when it ages over time, which is important. The Avo Syncro Nicaragua Fagado Short Torpedo. I will say that this box was sent to us by the manufacturer, and I think they're all gone. Between myself smoking them and other people asking me for them and other people smoking them, like we went through the entire box of 20 when they came in. Like they're all gone now, and I need to get more because this is just a great. It's interesting. It's a smaller Vitola than the Griffin's Nicaragua short torpedo, but it's just got this flavor dimension, the right amount of flavor and strength and body. I just thought it was a great offering from Avo. There's usually an Avo on my list. I'm a big Avo fan, and I thought they knocked it out of the park with the Syncro Nicaragua Fagata.
Ben, you're an Avo guy, yeah?
Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you're an Avo guy, right?
Who, me or?
You, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I am, yeah. And that one, I remember I got the same box from Davidoff Avo when they, we were at IPCPR when actually mine came in. And then before then, my shop here in Biloxi, they had an early release for that cigar, so I was able to try it a little bit early. And I remember thinking, wow, this thing is really good. But I think my box is completely gone too. It's one of those boxes where I got the box, I enjoyed them a lot. So it's like, oh man, you've got to try this. I would share, here, you try this, try that. And I realized they're gone.
They're gone.
Crap. So yeah, it's definitely a good little smoke. Really good smoke.
I went back to people who were a little hesitant on the Fagata. And it was kind of the same thing with the Syncro. We had a different experience with the Syncro because Paul and I really liked the 60 of all things. But so it was a similar thing I had with the Fagata where there was a size. a lot of people would tell me they couldn't find the size, and everyone was ignoring that short torpedo, which I thought was the one that shined head and shoulders in that blend.
Absolutely. Number 5 on my list, the CAO Consigliere Associate. This is one from General Cigar. I think part of fuels it is my love for a lot of the ones that they branded under the previous name. They've re-released it. I think it's a solid offering. And let me tell you, they sent us a bunch of samples because they're a sponsor. And I smoked through a lot of the different samples. And this was one that stuck out with me for me out of all of those samples. And I bought a box, and then the box has dwindled down. And again, that's kind of what plays into my ratings of, what makes it my top 10 list is what we're going back and smoking. And me specifically, what I went back and smoked, and I loved lighting this cigar up at lots of different times during the day. Versatility is a huge factor for me when I review cigars. And this one just smokes great at really any point during the day. It's got great flavor. And just a wonderfully attractive price point. You can get these cigars for like $4 or $5 a stick. They smoke great and they have great flavor. So it can't not earn a spot on my list with those factors taken into consideration.
It's got a lot of buzz. I know a lot of people both here in Biloxi and in Houston have been asking for that consigliere, And I don't know if it's because people are, they remember it from back in the, the original Soprano release edition, or, it's just, and Outstanding Smoke when it's on, because I got a sample at the show, but I haven't smoked it yet. I only got one sample, but there's a huge buzz for that cigar right now. I mean, everywhere you go, people are asking about that cigar.
CAO's back. CAO has really gotten that brand back the last couple of years. Between that, Amazon Basin, the Flathead obviously got the big rating last year. They're definitely on a roll right now.
And I tell you what, their gold in the Connecticut is pretty good.
That's a classic.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good offering in the Connecticut. Like I work it in my not so much regular rotation, but I do reach for it in terms of a Connecticut cigar. All right, now we get into my top 4, and this is really what really kind of impressed me to earn a spot higher up in my list this year. Number 4 is the Padron 1926 series Number 90 Natural, which we were talking about, I think, before the show, Ben, or on the show, actually, when we were talking about what we're smoking. The 90 Natural was a box purchase for me. There was a lot of newer releases from Padron, both the end of last year and this year. This one, for me, really stuck out as a clear winner in a lot of things I've smoked from Padron recently. I like it in the natural. I think I'm in the majority there of liking the natural versus the Maduro in this 90th. I thought it was great that it's in a tubo, but it's in cellophane inside of a tubo. I thought that was great packaging and really helped preserve the cigar. Every single one I've smoked, I've enjoyed thoroughly from start to finish. Great flavors, just the right amount of spice, perfectly balanced. The price point isn't horrible, right? This isn't correct me if I'm wrong, this is not a $30 stick, right? You get a box of 10 for $18 or $19, and you can get a box discount kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, yep.
I say most places that I've gone to that do, that the Padron, the number 90 is around like $19-20, something like that. So yes, I mean, you got to remember you're buying a 1926, anniversary Padron. So actually, it's kind of cheap for one of those.
Yeah. Like it's not 30, right? Like if this was 30, I'd be like, I'd still consider buying a box of them, to be honest with you. So to get into the Padron kind of limited type space or anniversary space, special cigars at this price point, this smokes just as good as some of their $30 offerings, in my opinion, which is why it's a number 4 on my list. All right, number 3 on my list. This was a cigar that really impressed me. I've probably smoked 4 of them. Davidoff Yamasa Robusto.
Wow, I had that as I was guessing that for 1.
It was really close, Will, to be honest with you. Like the Yamasa blend from Davidoff, and it's interesting in the other sizes, and I've smoked a lot in the other sizes as well, probably 2 each in the other sizes, because I love the blend so much. I think that Yamasa tobacco is just super special, but it shines so well in the Robusto size that it earned a number 3 on my list. I mean, when I light up the Robusto, it is such a sharp contrast in terms of just overall awesomeness from the other sizes. And it is just a wonderful experience in that Robusto size. I would smoke these every day if I could. I'm not sure what the price point is on them. I think they're pretty pricey for a Robusto.
They're about 18 or 19, yeah.
Yeah, but I tell you what, that Yamasa Robusto is Davidoff's best release of this year and absolutely earning a number 3 spot on my list.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the top releases they've had in the past 5 years, honestly. I mean, I like some of the more, like the Chef's Edition was out freaking standing.
Oh, my goodness.
I heard that. I don't think I smoked the Chef's Edition. I heard that was really good, though.
That thing it's phenomenal. But just for regular release, I like it better than even the Nicaraguan.
I do too.
I like it much better than the Escurio. But yeah, it's a phenomenal cigar.
Yeah, I thought Escurio and the Nicaraguan box presses that came out this year were really good, but the Yamasa Robusto is just like off the charts. It's off the charts.
I did talk about it, Paul, a couple weeks ago when you weren't here, and I did go back to the Robusto. I'll be honest, I'm still with the Pyramid, but that I see what you're going with the Robusto. I have a new appreciation for the Robusto, is what I'm going to say.
I do, and I like smoking the other sizes. I probably smoke 2 of each of the other sizes just to be sure, because that's what we do here. Poor us, right? We smoked Davidoff Yamasa, but the Robusto, just awesome. All right.
Yep.
Number 2. Now, again, I kind of did something weird with my number 1 and number 2, right? Like, these are pretty kind of, like, interchangeable. However, because my number 1 was more of a regular production, it very well could have been that if I wanted to go with a really limited for my number 1, it would have been this one. But my number 2 ended up being the Liga Privada Unico Series Year of the Rat by Drew Estate. This is the one that's only available in their lounge in the Florida Panthers hockey stadium, correct?
Oh yeah.
That's in Miami, right?
That is in.
No.
It's actually in a town called Sunrise. It's kind of in between Miami and Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, but you can only get the cigar there. Like you have to go there to get it.
we got them because we were basically in the right place at the right time. I was at Drew Estate, and we were able to get some.
And we got like one each, and I tell you what.
It was unbelievable. Liga Privada, anyone who says Liga Privada is dead,
hasn't smoked. Well, they haven't smoked this cigar, right? Now, I smoked a UF 13 Dark, and I tell you what, that cigar is aging phenomenally well.
But this thing?
This thing is off the charts good. I mean, like, my favorite Liga Privada, maybe of all time, could be this one. I mean, it just takes all of those elements that we rate Oasis here on the show, right, and combines them all together. The burn-drawn construction is impeccable, which is table stakes, right? But then, like, the balance of flavors, the amount of flavors, the smoothness, and there's, like, creamy. It just has, like, everything going on for it. I was just totally blown away by this cigar. It's one of those ones that earns a spot on my list, even though I only smoked one. It was such an amazing experience that it's the number 2 cigar on my list. And I don't know what they did with how they blended it. It's obviously very limited. It's obviously extremely difficult to get these cigars unless you go to, where is it, Sunrise, Florida?
Yeah, you go to Sunrise, Florida, which I have 2 trips to Florida, and I am a hockey guy. So I may try to go to a game just for that reason.
I'm not a hockey guy. I would go to a hockey game just to smoke this cigar. I mean, I enjoy hockey. I would go watch a game, but to be able to buy these cigars, which are probably limited as to how many you can purchase while you're there, whatever the limit is, I would buy and just savor this cigar.
Yeah, if I could have smoked through them again, because there was a limit for my list, I had to re-smoke everything. That was the only reason it didn't make my list. But that is, Ben, I'm telling you, I know you're a Liga guy. This thing is
off the charts.
Off the charts, yeah.
I don't really hunt cigars down. I don't chase cigars anymore. I just don't have time for that. And
I agree.
don't need to. But this sounds like something I need to go chase down.
Well, I tell you what, if I get to Florida and I can get some, friends of Stogie Geeks, we'll have some. So don't worry. But I can't promise I'm going to be able to do it. So see what happens.
I think when we interviewed Sam Morales from Drew Estate, I was telling him how much I loved. I think I smoked the cigar on the show. Did I? Did I smoke it when we interviewed Sam?
You had smoked it
I smoked it like
show.
right before, and I'm like, Sam, you guys knocked it out of the park with this one, dude. Like, totally awesome. So Sam, if you're listening, we want more.
We can't FDAs.
That's right. We can't. We can't.
We got those before the FDA.
We did.
Got them.
We did.
I was in Florida the weekend they launched that. Now I didn't go to the launch event, but that was how I was able to snag them.
Unreal. Yeah. So, like I said, my number 1, number 2, it kind of interchangeable. So with my number 1, I went with something that was more readily available, one that I really like to smoke. Obviously, all of them I really like to smoke, but this is one where I wouldn't just keep one box of them. Like, I want to make sure I have multiple boxes of them in a backlog. And there are only a few select cigars that I make room for to make sure that, like, I've got a box or a jar to smoke out of, and then, like, a box in cellophane as a backup. And, like, Tatuaje actually has 2 of these on the list, right? On my personal list, aside from this one. The Nueva Reserva and the Tatuaje Black jar release. Like, I keep a box or a jar that I smoke out of regularly, and I make sure that, like, behind that is another one, like, fully sealed. And this is one that falls into that category for me because of how much I just love to smoke them. And that's the Mi Carita Onco Largo is my number 1 cigar. And you've heard me rave about this cigar on the show. You've heard me, probably if you follow Facebook, you've seen me tell Steve, I'm not just, like, saying this just to say it, but, like, you really did an awesome job with this cigar, and it really, like, earned a place in my regular smoking rotation. Now, it's funny, it's a regular production release cigar, but they're kind of limited right now, which is interesting. They're hard to get. If I check locally or online, everywhere is sold out of this size.
We have them. My son's got them in the shop.
Okay, good. I may actually call your son in the shop to order them. That's how much I love this cigar, and one of the reasons why it earned a number 1 spot, because just all around, every time I light this cigar up, I'm like, it's like Steve blended it for me, right? Like, I don't know if you ever got that kind of feeling when you smoke a cigar, but you're like, dude, you blended this for me. It was like I went to the factory with Steve and like, let's blend a cigar for Paul. Like, he would have blended the Mi Querida Uncle Largo. This is a Toro size cigar, and like, this cigar is just for me. I could smoke them any time of the day. I just love smoking them. I thought, to be honest with you, Sober Mesa for me is a good cigar. It's not one that I would smoke on a regular basis. Like, I keep some around to smoke and I enjoy the blend. But when you get into the Mi Querida in this size especially, I smoke through them all. Like, I end up having none left all the time. Just love this cigar in this size. And I do smoke the other sizes and it kind of holds me over. But this size, whatever he's done with the blend for this size, it is perfection for me. Again, it's like Steve Saka blended it just for Paul.
The Stace Berkland, who's he was on a couple of episodes. He's still with that Fino Largo, the 48. But I'm with you. I'm with the Uncle Largo.
Have you guys smoked? What do you think of this blend in general? Have you found the size? Have you smoked enough of it to? This is
the one. Yes, this is a. I'll say this, Paul. We have one cigar common in the top 10.
Gotcha.
And it's this one, so I kind of gave something away tonight.
Right. Yeah, Ben, have you smoked this cigar?
Yeah, and it's actually, I think, one of my favorites too. I don't want to give it away, but yeah,
there you go.
I haven't smoked a whole lot of them because I just haven't come across them. As they're not really available just yet. But yeah, that's an outstanding cigar. I mean, and we said this at last week's show. Like, Steve Saka, man, like, whenever I talk to him, I feel like I'm getting just an immense amount of cigar knowledge, tobacco knowledge. But he's one person that I know. If he brings a cigar out that I know is box worthy automatically, because there's nothing he's ever put out that was like, oh, this is not just a phenomenal cigar.
Yeah.
So this is another one, that's just an outstanding cigar. I really love this stick.
It's just so smokable, and I know that sounds weird, but like, in terms of smokability, of all the cigars that were released this year, this one's like the most smokable to me. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, when I would go to my humidor, I could always have one of those, and that's really what plays into. I mean, we smoke, I don't know, in any given year, Will and I review like 700 cigars, right? And if you're looking at the one that you're like, yeah, there's really like, there's no bad time to smoke this cigar. Like, I'd always just smoke it. Like, that's the one that's going to creep up to the top slot. So,
yeah, I'm tooting one around right now, as a matter of fact.
There you go. Yeah, just great job, Steve. Thank you for blending a cigar just for me. And that's not everyone, right? I mean, my list is going to be different from Will's list, it's going to be different from Ben's list, and anyone else's list. But in terms of smokability and just what I like that people have blended this year, Steve knocked it out of the park for me. And it was even, what's weird is, and we talk about this in the show a lot, like, a lot of people say, well, I don't like the cigars that Steve's blends, or I don't like the cigars that Nick blends, or I don't like CA. Like, you can't make those determinations because, like I said, Sober Mesa for me, that's a good cigar. Like, in certain sizes, I keep some fivers around. Like, I like that cigar. Same thing with a lot of Nick's blends or CAO or any Padron's blends, whatever. I find my favorites, but to have just this one, that's what earned my spot for me. And again, that Liga Privada Unco Series Year of the Rat was just off the chart. And it's kind of funny that, Steve was involved with Drew Estate and basically gave birth to the Unico Series. And that's number 2. And number 1 is the one that when Steve left and went on his own, is number 1. So,
and there's nothing Liga about that cigar, by the way.
No, it's really, I mean, it produces a pretty similar amount of smoke, which I like. That's one of my kind of redeeming qualities about a lot of cigars. Like, when I smoke that UF13 Dark, I was like, wow. I smoked it in the car, dude, and like I had to like roll the windows down almost like halfway in the winter to get the smoke out of the car because it was just filling the car up with smoke. And I love that about a cigar. And in the Mi Querida definitely has that quality of producing a lot of smoke, which I like. Same thing with the Liga Privada series. I think in general, Unico or not, produced a lot of smoke, and I like that. So some of it's about not just flavor or burn, draw, and construction, right? Some it's about smoke production or just the overall smoking experience. I like a lot of smoke production in my cigars, and I think those cigars are always going to rank higher in my opinion. And again, that's just my opinion.
No, I'm exactly the same way. I love that. I even put that in my reviews. I'll mention that if it has a ton of smoke production because that's something that gives me enjoyment with a cigar too. I like it when I look like basically an old locomotive going down the track. When I'm smoking a cigar. So
absolutely. So that is my top 10 list.
A very solid list. I'm surprised we don't have any in common besides one, but that's easy. I put that list in front of anybody.
But that's that's good. That speaks to the cigars that are available to us as well as our different palettes. So, and I think to some of the things we want to try and do in 2017.
A lot of it's more of a factor, Paul, that I don't. There was a lot I didn't review in time or smoke.
Yeah,
that was more the issue with it. But in general, that's a strong list when I look at that.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm going to release my list next week, and I could say that there's at least 3.
Nice.
Oh, that's all mine. At least, I think 4 probably, but 3 for sure.
Awesome. Well, with that, we're going to take a short break, come back, and talk about our Stogies of the week.